You know what the worst part being a ranger is? It's not the long hours or the isolation or even the danger. It's knowing things. Knowing there are places in these forests where the rules change, where nature stops being nature and becomes something else, something older, something that was here before we named the mountains and marked the trails. The native tribes knew. They had names for these things, warnings passed down for generations. But we, modern people with our GPS and satellite phones and rational minds, we ignored them, called them superstition, folklore, stories to scare children, until we learned better, usually too late. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about the winter I learned better. About 7 days in the deep wilderness with something watching our camp, something that got closer every night, something that whispered promises of warmth and food while we were slowly freezing and starving. The Ojibwe call it Wendigo, the spirit of winter hunger, the thing that happens when a man eats human flesh and loses his humanity, when starvation and cold and desperation twist something inside you until you're no longer human, until you're just hunger with a body, endless, insatiable, never satisfied. I didn't believe in it. Not then, but I do now. My name is Thomas Hartley. This happened in January of 1989, in the boundary waters between Minnesota and Ontario. I was 32 years old, working as a ranger in Superior National Forest. The park superintendent needed someone to check on a remote research station, a cabin about 40 miles into the wilderness where scientists studied wolf populations during winter. The station had gone dark. No radio contact for 3 weeks. Could be equipment failure. Could be weather damage. Could be nothing. But we needed to check. And I needed a ranger who could handle winter wilderness travel. That was me, cross-country skiing, cold weather survival. I'd done winter patrols before. This should have been routine. I took a partner, a ranger named Dale Simmons, 45 years old, 20 years in the service, ex-military, solid, reliable. If something was wrong at that research station, Dale was the kind of guy you wanted backing you up. We left on January 18th. Temperature was minus 15, clear skies, good conditions. We carried 10 days of food, cold weather gear, emergency supplies. The plan was to reach the station in 3 days, assess the situation, and return. Simple, straightforward, routine. We should have known better. Nothing in the deep wilderness is ever routine in January. The first 2 days were fine. We made good time. The skiing was excellent. Hard-packed snow, clear trails. We camped at designated sites, kept the fire going, stayed warm and dry, professional, efficient. On the 3rd day, we found the first warning. It was carved into a tree trunk about 10 miles from the research station. Fresh, recent. The wood was still light-colored, not weathered. Someone had done this within the last few weeks. The carving was crude but clear, a figure. Human-shaped but wrong. Too tall, too thin, with antlers or branches growing from its head. And below it, one word in capital letters. Turn back. Well, that's encouraging, Dale said, examining the carving. Think it's the researchers? Trying to scare people away from their study site. Maybe, but why? And why carve into a tree instead of just posting a sign? Could be locals, hunters, someone who doesn't want Forest Service in the area. Could be, but something about it felt wrong. The figure was too detailed, too specific. Like someone had carved what they'd actually seen, not what they'd imagined. We pushed on. We were only 10 miles out. We'd come too far to turn back because of a carving. 5 miles later, we found the second warning. This one was different. It was built from branches and bones. Animal bones, we assumed, arranged in a spiral pattern hanging from a tree, tied with what looked like strips of cloth or leather. In the center was a piece of paper, frozen stiff, with one word written in what looked like charcoal. Hungry. Dale cut it down. Okay, this is officially weird. Someone's trying to mess with us. But his voice didn't sound confident anymore, and I noticed he kept looking over his shoulder, kept scanning the tree line like he expected to see something. We should radio base, I said. Let them know what we're finding. I tried. Got nothing but static. Not unusual. We were deep in the wilderness, surrounded by hills that blocked signals. But the timing felt wrong, like we were being isolated. Cut off. We keep going, Dale decided. But we stay together, and we don't camp out in the open tonight. We find shelter. We reached the research station at dusk. It sat in a clearing beside a frozen lake, a sturdy log cabin with equipment shed and outhouse. Smoke should have been rising from the chimney. Lights should have been on. Snowshoes should have been propped by the door. Instead, it was dark, silent, and the door was hanging open. We approached carefully. Hello? This is Forest Service. Anyone here? No answer. Just wind and the creak of that open door, swinging slightly. Inside, the station was trashed. Not vandalized. That's the wrong word. It looked like someone had been searching frantically for something. Drawers pulled out, paper scattered, furniture overturned, food supplies torn open, contents spilled across the floor. And there was blood. Not a lot. Small smears on the walls. Handprints near the door. A trail leading from the main room to the sleeping area in back. We followed it. Found 2 sleeping bags, both slashed open, and carved into the wooden floor. Between them, IT came inside. Dale pulled his radio. Base, this is Unit 9. We have a situation at the research station. Evidence of possible assault. Requesting immediate backup and evacuation support. Over. Static. Nothing but static. He tried again. Same result. We were on our own. What happened here? I said more to myself than to Dale. That's when we heard it. From outside, from the tree line around the clearing, a sound like wind through branches, but also like breathing. Deep, slow, patient, and underneath that, a voice. Faint, distant, but clear enough to make out the words. So hungry, so cold, please help. It sounded human, desperate, like someone dying of exposure in the forest. Every instinct I had told me to go help, to find whoever was out there and bring them inside. But Dale grabbed my arm. His face was white. Don't. That's not a person. How do you know? He pointed at the window, at the darkness outside, at the edge of the tree line, maybe 50 yards away. There was something standing there. Tall, too tall, maybe 8 feet, maybe more. It was hard to tell in the darkness, but I could see its outline against the snow, could see the way it stood, perfectly still, not swaying with cold, not shifting weight like a living thing would, and I could see what looked like antlers, or branches, growing from its head. So hungry, the voice came again, closer now. So cold, let me inside, please. The figure at the tree line hadn't moved, hadn't opened its mouth, but the voice was coming from that direction, coming from it. Dale stepped back from the window, started closing the shutters. We need to secure this cabin. Now, every window, every door, and we don't open them until daylight, no matter what we hear. Dale, what is that? He finished with the shutters, turned to look at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. Real, primal fear. I don't know what it is, he said quietly, but I know what the Ojibwe call it, and I know what they say it does. It waits outside. It mimics voices. It promises warmth and food and safety. And if you let it in, if you acknowledge it, if you respond to it, what? Then it feeds. And you become like it. Hungry. Always hungry. Forever. We spent the first night barricaded in that cabin, listening to something circle the clearing. We could hear it moving through the snow, could hear it testing the shutters, could hear it scratching at the walls, and we could hear it talking. Sometimes it used a voice from before, the desperate, dying person begging to be let inside. Sometimes it used other voices, a woman, a child. Once, it used my own voice calling Dale from outside, "Open the door, Dale." I went to check the shed. I'm locked out. It's so cold. Please. I was sitting right next to him. We both heard my voice coming from outside. Perfect. Exact. Like a recording of me speaking. But I hadn't said those words. Don't answer. Dale whispered. Don't acknowledge it. Don't let it know we can hear. But it knew. It knew we were in there, knew we were listening. And it kept trying different approaches, different voices, different tactics. Around 3 a.m., it changed strategy, started talking about the researchers. Dr. Chin is outside. She's hurt. She needs help. Please, you have to help her. She's dying. There was no Dr. Chun. We'd checked the station records before we left. The research team was 2 men, Dr. Robert Foster and his assistant, Mark Tavish, both in their 60s, both experienced wilderness researchers. So where were they, and what had happened to them? The scratching on the walls grew more insistent, more violent. Like, whatever was out there was getting frustrated, getting angry. Then, suddenly, silence. Complete silence. No wind. No movement. Nothing. Is it gone? I whispered. Dale was at the window, peering through a crack in shutters. No, it's standing in the middle of the clearing. Just standing there, watching the cabin. For how long? I don't know, but I don't think it's going anywhere. He was right. When dawn finally came, painfully slow, the sun taking forever to rise, the thing was still there. And in daylight, we could see it clearly. It looked like a person. Sort of. It had a human shape, head, torso, arms, legs. But it was wrong. The proportions were off. The arms were too long, hanging down past the knees. The legs were too thin to support a body that size. And the head, God, the head. It was crowned with antlers. Real antlers, like a deer's, but massive. 12, maybe 14 points. They looked like they'd grown from the skull, like they were part of it. The face was the worst part. It was human-shaped but emaciated, skin pulled tight over the skull, jaw hanging open, and the eyes were completely black. No whites, no iris, just black holes in the skull face. What the hell is that? I breathed. It's exactly what the legends describe, Dale said. It's what happens when someone starves in the wilderness, when they're so desperate for food that they... He trailed off. That they what? That they eat human flesh. The Ojibwe say once you do that, once you taste human meat, you transform. Your body changes. You become something else. Something that's always hungry. That can never be satisfied, no matter how much it eats. I stared at the figure. It hadn't moved, hadn't blinked, just stood there, watching the cabin with those black eyes. So what do? We can't stay here forever. We have food for maybe 6 more days. No radio. No way to call for help. Dale was quiet for a long moment. The Ojibwe have stories about how to survive these things. You don't acknowledge them. You don't speak to them. You don't make eye contact. And you never, ever let them inside. If you can avoid those things, sometimes they lose interest, move on to easier prey. And if they don't, then you pray, or you run, and you hope you're faster. We spent that day fortifying the cabin. Used furniture to barricade the door. Nailed boards over the windows from the inside. Made sure there was no way anything could get in without making enough noise to wake us. All day, the thing stood in the clearing, watching, not moving, not speaking, just watching with those black eyes. As dusk fell, it moved, circled the cabin once, slowly, then returned to its spot in the middle of the clearing, and it started speaking again. This time, it used Dale's voice, my voice, the voices of people we knew. It held conversations with itself, mimicked radio chatter, created the illusion of rescue teams arriving, of helicopters overhead, of help finally coming. We knew it was fake, knew no helicopters were coming. But God, it sounded so real, so convincing. It was torture listening to phantom rescue teams calling our names, knowing we couldn't respond, knowing it was all a trick. On the 3rd night, we ran out of firewood. The temperature inside the cabin dropped. Our water bottles started freezing. We bundled in our sleeping bags, wearing all our layers, trying to conserve body heat. The thing outside spoke in my mother's voice. Tommy, honey, come outside. I made hot chocolate. Your favorite. Come get warm, baby. My mother lived in Ohio. I hadn't been called Tommy since I was a child, but the voice was perfect, exactly as I remembered it, and the promise of warmth, of hot chocolate, of comfort. I started to stand up, started moving toward the door. Dale tackled me, held me down. It's not real. Your mother isn't here. It's the thing. It knows you're cold. It's using that against you. But I could smell it, could smell hot chocolate, could feel warmth emanating from outside. My rational mind knew it was impossible, but my freezing, exhausted body didn't care about logic. Dale tied me to a support beam with rope. I'm sorry, but I can't let you open that door. Can't let you go outside. I fought him, screamed at him, begged him to let me get warm, but he held firm. On the fourth night, we found the journal. It was hidden under the floorboards in the sleeping area. A leather journal, water-stained and worn. Dr. Robert Foster's field notes. We read by flashlight, conserving our batteries, while the thing outside continued its vigil. The entries started normal. Scientific observations, wolf pack movements, prey populations, weather data, standard research documentation. Then, December 15th, the tone changed. Mark saw something today. Tall figure at the tree line, watching the cabin. He thinks it's a local trying to scare us off. I'm not so sure. The proportions were wrong. Too tall, too thin. December 18th. The figure came closer last night. Stood in the clearing. Mark tried to photograph it, but the camera malfunctioned. All the images came out completely black, like something was absorbing the light. December 22nd. Mark is convinced we should leave. Says the figure is in his dreams. Says it's calling to him. I told him we need to complete the study. We're here for 2 more weeks. We can't abandon months of work because of one strange visitor. December 25th, Christmas. We should be with our families. Instead, we're trapped in this cabin. The thing, I can't call a figure anymore. I know what it is now, comes every night. It stands in the same spot. Doesn't move until dawn. Mark is deteriorating. Won't eat. Says he's not hungry. But I hear him at night, whispering to himself, or whispering to something outside. December 28th. Mark is gone. I woke up this morning and he was just gone. The door was barred from the inside. Windows shuttered. No way he could have left without me hearing. But his sleeping bag is empty and there's no trace of him. Except there are scratches on the inside of the door, like he was trying to claw his way out. December 30th. I see him now. Mark. He's outside with the thing. Standing next to it. Same height now. Same proportions. Same black eyes. He looks at me through the window, and I know it's not Mark anymore. He's been transformed, consumed, and now there are 2 of them, waiting. December 31st. So hungry. Haven't eaten in 3 days. Can't bring myself to touch the food. It looks wrong. Smells wrong. But the thing outside, it promises meat. Fresh meat. Says if I just open the door, I can feed. Can satisfy this hunger that's eating me from the inside. January 2nd. I understand now. It doesn't kill you. That would be mercy. It makes you like it. Transforms you through starvation and desperation and fear until you're willing to do anything to feed the hunger. Until you're willing to become what it is. The last entry was January 5th, 2 weeks before we arrived. Just 2 words written in a shaking hand. IT wins. The pages after that were blank, except for the very last page. There, in different handwriting, neat, precise, wrong, was a message. Welcome, Thomas and Dale. We've been waiting for you. We're so very hungry. Won't you join us? I dropped the journal. That's today's date. That was written today. While we were in here. Dale stared at the page. It got inside. While we were securing the cabin. While we were distracted. It, or something like it, got inside and wrote this. We searched the cabin. Every corner. Every space. Found nothing. But we both felt it now. The presence. The wrongness. Like the cabin itself had been contaminated. We have to leave, I said. We have to run. Now, while it's still dark, before it expects us to move. If we go outside, we're dead if we stay. You read the journal. Foster starved himself trying to resist it. We have 3 days of food left. Maybe 4 if we ration. Then what? We wait until we're so hungry we're willing to open that door, willing to become like it. Dale knew I was right. We packed light, essential gear only, planned our route. We'd head south, avoid the thing in the clearing, move fast through the darkness. At 2 a.m., we made our move. Removed the barricade as quietly as possible. Opened the door. Stepped out into the -20 cold. The clearing was empty. The thing was gone. For a moment, I thought we'd gotten lucky, that it had left, that we had a chance. Then I saw them, at the tree line. Not 1, not 2, but 5 of them. Tall, thin, antlered, watching with black eyes. Run, Dale whispered. Don't look back. Just run. We ran, south through the forest, through the snow, through the darkness. Behind us, I could hear them coming. Multiple sets of footsteps, moving fast, too fast, gaining on us. We ran for 3 hours. My lungs burned, my legs screamed, but we didn't stop, couldn't stop. At dawn, we reached the frozen lake, 2 miles across, exposed. But if we could make it across, we'd be within range of the ranger station, within range of help. We were halfway across when we looked back. They were standing at the shore, all 5 of them, not following, not crossing the ice, just standing there, watching us go. Why aren't they following? I gasped. Dale kept moving. Don't question it. Just move. We made it across. Made it to the ranger station by noon. Made it to safety. But here's what haunts me. We never found the bodies. Never found Foster or Tavish. Never found any evidence of what happened to them, except that journal. And 3 months later, there was a report. 2 hikers matching their description were seen in the boundary waters, asking other hikers if they had any food, if they were hungry, if they wanted to come see something interesting in the forest. The hikers who reported it said something was wrong with them, that their eyes looked strange, that they moved wrong, that they smiled too wide. Nobody's seen those 2 hikers since. The fire remembers what the living try to forget, and I only tell what it shows me. I'm 73 years old now. That was 35 years ago, but I still have nightmares. Still wake up cold and hungry, hearing voices outside my cabin. Still remember those black eyes watching us from the trees. The Wendigo is real. It's not a myth, not folklore. It's what happens when hunger and cold and isolation strip away everything human. When the wilderness takes you and transforms you into something that exists only to feed. That can never be satisfied. That hunts forever. And it's still out there, in the deep wilderness, in the places where winter is absolute and help is days away, waiting for someone to be alone, to be cold, to be hungry enough to listen to voices promising warmth and food and comfort. If you ever find yourself in the wilderness in deep winter, and you hear voices calling from the darkness, promising help, don't answer, don't acknowledge, don't look, because some hungers can never be satisfied. Some transformations can't be undone. And some things that look human aren't human anymore. Stay out of the deep woods in winter, friend. And if you see someone standing at the tree line with antlers and black eyes, run and pray it doesn't follow. Good night.